Pope Leo XIV speaks for the poor and nature at inauguration mass, just as President Bola Tinubu receives Catholic leaders in Rome. Nigeria deepens ties on education research. Plus, we'll be discussing mental health, talking about understanding depression and anxiety. Very crucial. These and more will bring to you on Panorama shortly. I'm Ruth Aguele. Welcome. Pope Leo XIV set the tone for his papacy on Sunday. It came with a charge on the people to stop exploiting nature and marginalizing the poor. This was before an audience of world leaders and tens of thousands of pilgrims during his inauguration mass at St. Peter's Square. Ekene Ndulwe reports.
The 69-year-old Pope began the day by making his debut tour in a Pope mobile, greeting over 100,000 pilgrims, leaders from around the world, and representatives of Christian denominations. Pope Leo XIV marked the joyous start to his ministry, officially inaugurating it with a mass in St. Peter's Square. Among the dignitaries is President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria, who got a personal invitation from the Pope. Expressing his heartfelt gratitude for the prayerful and joyful support offered to him as he begins his ministry as Pope, Leo XIV recalled the intense emotions experienced over the past few weeks.
Troppe ferite causate dall'odio.
In his homily, the Pope laid out priorities for his papacy, criticizing an economic system that exploits nature and the poor. He noted that in current times, there are too much discord, too many wounds caused by hatred, violence, prejudice, and the fear of difference. The Pope also thanked everyone for accompanying in prayer the College of Cardinals meeting in conclave to elect the successor of Peter as they looked at how to continue the mission of preaching the gospel with a shepherd able to address today's challenges. He recalled how love and unity are the two aspects of the mission entrusted to Peter by Jesus Christ. Ekene Ndulwe, NTA News.
And still from the Vatican City, demonstrating with practical example, President Bola Tinubu says his administration will continue to strengthen the bond of national unity, regardless of religious differences in Nigeria. This was the special message of the president as he attended the inaugural mass of Pope Leo XIV at the Vatican. State House correspondent Musbahu Danwahab reports.
A special guest of the Pope here in the Vatican City. And the Vatican, a center of convergence for Catholics from around the world. It is a significant once-in-a-lifetime day for Pope Leo XIV as he assumes the papacy. A practicing Muslim, albeit, President Tinubu apparently understands his position as a leader of the largest Catholic community in Africa. And so he qualifies for the front row at St. Peter's Square. He's here with other world leaders to grace the moment for the Vatican head of state. As the 267th Bishop of Rome and the new leader of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Leo evoked some of the messages of his immediate predecessor, Pope Francis, pleading for peace in Ukraine and Gaza, among other warring areas. And after the Mass, President Tinubu takes his turn in a warm handshake with the Pope.
And you're here, even as a Muslim president. What does this mean regarding the national unity that you have been preaching?
Well, it's consistent in the true sense of unity in diversity. And I'm greatly honored We have to continue to work on it. It's a work in progress for the sake of our country and the continent as a whole.
The Nigerian Catholic community was well represented at the event. From the Vatican City, Musbao and Wahab, NTA News.
In a related development, the leadership of the Catholic community in Nigeria has expressed appreciation to President Bola Tinubu for his support to the denomination through the period of burial rites for the immediate past Pope and the inauguration of the new one. President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, Archbishop Lucius Ugoji of Owerri, led others on an appreciative visit to President Tinubu in Rome. Once again, let's hear from State House correspondent Musbahuddin Wahab.
The Nigerian flag conspicuously flying at St. Peter's Square as Pope Leo XIV began his reign as the global leader of the Roman Catholic Church. President, Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, Archbishop Lucius Ugoji of Owerri, Archbishop Ignatius Kaigama of Abuja, Archbishop Alfred Martins of Lagos, and Bishop Matthew Kuka of Sokoto led the Nigerian delegation to the Vatican. And just returning from the historic event, they paid an immediate visit to President Tinubu in Rome, underscoring the support of the Nigerian leader to the processes.
Along with you. So we are grateful, and I've already written to thank you for facilitating our coming for the funeral of Pope Francis. So now that you have come to the Vatican, so whenever we are having our conference in Nigeria, we'll also invite you, and we look forward to interfacing with you, just as you're able to do with the Holy Father.
The husband of a pastor has once again proven that religious dichotomy has no place under his leadership. And the president says this disposition is necessary to leverage the country's diversity for its prosperity.
It's an obligation to do such a thing for us to promote our unity in diversity and show Nigeria the sort of leadership that must prevail and exist all the time. If we are to use that diversity, not for adversity at all, but for marriage for the country. It's historic for one to be on the saddle of presidency and for this to happen.
President Tinubu promises to always be there for any cause in the interest of Nigeria.
He has shown that this solidarity with the millions of people who are of the Catholic faith in Nigeria by attending this Mass, being himself a Muslim. This has also shown his commitment to the advancement of peace, not just in the African region, but globally also.
What the president has shown is that he's a man who's tolerant of all religions and who believes in interfaith harmony, and who has even demonstrated it by the kind of appointments he made out of his cabinet. 62% of them are Christians. That shows the kind of man he is.
It changes the misconception that Nigeria is not a free, fair place to worship for multiple religious faith. So it shows the fact that a Muslim president can be accepted and is liberal to carry the whole country along.
From Rome, Musbao, then Wahab, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, Bishop Stephen Adegbite, has commended President Bola Tinubu for his physical presence at the formal inauguration of Pope Leo XIV. In a statement, Bishop Adigbite said he is pleased that President Bola Tinubu joined all the world leaders at the inauguration of Pope Leo XIV. A gesture, he said, which demonstrates his faith in God. Bishop Adigbite further explained that the president's attendance at the event is also a testament to his openness and lack of religious bigotry, adding that prayer has been the sustaining grace for Nigeria. He expressed optimism about the upcoming Commission's executive pilgrimage to Rome, anticipating a spiritual, rejuvenating experience for intending pilgrims. And turning our attention back home to other issues, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice John Toshaw, has approved the redeployment of some judges of the Federal High Court. A statement by the Director of Information of the Court, Catherine Christopher, says the redeployments are to take immediate effect, while the affected judges are to make their best endeavor to deliver all pending judgments in their current stations within the shortest possible time. Meanwhile, the judges currently resident in the Abakaliki and Katsina Judicial Divisions shall take responsibility for all the cases already pending or newly instituted in their respective divisions until otherwise instructed. The public is hereby notified that all cases pending before Court Number 5 in the Abuja Division will be attended to by the new judge moved to Abuja. Nigeria and the European Union are strengthening collaboration in areas of education and research, as well as cultural exchange for sustainable development. Well, this is coming as the European Union ambassador to Nigeria led a delegation to the Nasarawa State University, KEFI, to explore more areas of partnership. Let's hear from Aliyu Tijani.
Nigeria's long-standing relationship with European Union member countries is what this visit by the EU ambassador and the Polish ambassador seeks to advance at the State University KEFI, thereby building bridge between Europe and West Africa. The introduction of the Institute for European Studies in the university is one of the gains of the partnership, as the European Union reaffirms commitment to promote cultural and educational exchange with lessons on development to be learned by member states.
And we have strong historical, cultural, human ties. And so our destinies are interlinked. If in West Africa in particular you are doing well, it will have positive consequences for us. If you are not doing well, it will have negative consequences for us, and vice versa.
Vice-Chancellor of the university, Professor Saadatu Hassan says the school is poised to extend hand of friendship with European countries, thereby allowing students engage critically with European affairs and proffer solutions to global challenges.
As we look forward to the future, we are excited about the opportunities that await us in our ongoing collaboration with the EU.
The collaboration is also expected to offer opportunities for academic growth, capacity building, and cross-cultural understanding between Nigeria and European Union member states. Aliyu Tijani, NTA News.
Academics and key players in the education sector have advocated the creation of an enabling and policy environment that fosters inclusivity, accessibility, quality, and regulatory reforms that promote ethical and effective delivery of knowledge through open and distance learning education across Nigeria. This is contained in a communique at the end of a 3-day third International Conference on Open and Distance Learning organized by National Open University of Nigeria in collaboration with the Open, Distance and E-Learning Association of Nigeria. The conference with the theme Adaptive Pedagogies for the Future of Education, Connecting Learners, Technologies, discussed further to adaptive ways in open and distance learning systems in the country.
Proactive orientation on ODL of teachers and all other categories of staff who work within the ODL ecosystem. Ensure political will is sustained in implementing digitization strategies in education.
Conference also calls on institutions to invest in continuous capacity building for educators at all levels. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. Something very crucial. Of course, you know, it's very common these days for one to be stressed out as a result of pressure that comes from different circumstances. One can easily fall into depression or, you know, get seriously anxious about issues. We want to talk about mental health, which is very crucial. You know, understanding anxiety and depression. We have a clinical psychologist in the studio, Mr. Ejike Ugu. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ugu.
Thank you, Ruth. Good afternoon, viewers.
Good afternoon to you too. Mental health, you know, one of the issues that is not much talked about, but very serious because a lot of people from reports are going through one form of mental health disorder or the other. Tell us how crucial this is for our well-being.
Okay, you see, the issue about mental health is one area of life that's...
Go ahead.
Okay, is one area that people tend to disregard because it's something that is not physical. It is not a physical health. And so people don't tend to pay attention to it. And the issue of anxiety, you know, anxiety is an aspect of mood disorder, which is becoming anxious of something that is not physical. Fear. When somebody is fearful, it means you are scared of something that you could see. But when somebody has anxiety or is anxious, it is something that is probably perceived in the mind or something that is not physical, but something that is, the person must have attributed some level of high mental weight as against what it is in the physical. So it is actually a big concern. And this also leads to depression. Now, depression now becomes a time when somebody is consistently in a low mood for over a period of time. You know, this goes a long way to affect the way this person functions. Depression could be seen maybe when somebody continually begin to lose interest in things that this person ordinarily is interested in. For some persons, it could manifest in the form of, you know, loss of appetite. For some other persons, it could also be in the form of, you know, overeating. For some persons, they could have insomnia. For some other persons, it could be hypersomnia, where they sleep too much. For some persons, they will just feel this sense of hopelessness, you know, this sense of worthlessness. And this becomes a clinical issue when it begins to affect this person's daily operation.
Okay, so Mr. Ugu, yes, it's good you have mentioned the symptoms, you know, as per the depression and the anxiety. Yeah. But again, what next? Because people die in silence. People don't speak out, especially in this part of the world. People feel when you talk about these issues, you will be stigmatized.
Yes. Okay, so the issue about people not talking about, you know, when they have mental health concern is a big problem generally, and it is even more serious in Africa because of our cultural orientation, you know, especially among men. Even though these classes of mental health, depression is experienced more in women, but you also find out that women most times speak out more. The men, you know, tend to continually, you know, sublime these things, suppress these feelings. They don't want to talk about it. And even when they try to mention it to fellow, they will always, you know, talk it up by my friend, man up, be a man. But it is not supposed to be so. People are encouraged to talk out, when, you know, speak out, and importantly, speak to a professional when there are concerns, when you have issues that you think you cannot ravel on your own, when you have things that are bothering you, it is appreciated that you speak to a professional.
You know, this professional you talk about, as a way of wrapping up this conversation, do we really have enough psychologists, if we want to look at the number of mental health issues, going by the statistics in the country, do we have the ratio as per that? And what would be your, advice to people who are dying in silence and are watching this right now? So just marry both and round up.
Okay, the truth is that we don't have enough mental health workers. As at last year when I got licensed, my serial number is 550, meaning in a population of over 2 million, which up to today, we still have less than 1,000 clinical psychologists, which is a big problem. So sometimes some people would even want to speak to somebody, but how do you even find the correct person to speak to? But that being said, we also need to tackle the issue of people not being willing to speak out. These services could be gotten physically or online. There are lay counselors that we train to be able to provide this counseling around some places. So people are encouraged, first of all, to talk out when they have problems. You could even share with your immediate person. Because major problem with depression most times is that the person continues to repress this feeling, and then begin to have suicidal ideations. And when these things are done, and you don't talk to somebody, and of course, with the way our environment is designed, there are always harmful objects at all times, which could now lead to unwanted news. So people are encouraged to speak out, and then speak to professionals.
Speak out. That's just the takeout from this. Speak out. Thank you very much, Mr. Ejike Ugu. I wanted to say Uju. Ugu, thank you so much. He's a clinical psychologist. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for coming on Panorama.
Thank you, Ruth.
All right. Let's look at other issues. In the heart of Abuja, a group of extraordinary women laced up their sneakers, now not just for fitness, but for a case, or rather a cause. The Holy Child Old Girls Association, celebrating 80 years of sisterhood, took to the streets of Gariki, Area 11 here in Abuja, on a symbolic walkathon. It was no ordinary stroll. It was a moving call to uplift the girl child. Ibrahim Den Hamisu report.
They began at NTA Domsat, marched through FCTA, waved at FCDA, then looped back step by step with purpose. The trail echoed with chants. Motivational songs filled the air like soldiers on parade. Not in uniform, but united. In their 40s to 60s and beyond, they walked with pride.
We're here creating awareness with our work to show to give back to the school, and also show our commitments that what we learned back in school, action not words, is still alive in us today.
To invest in our girls. These girls are our future, they're the mothers of the nation. So from the time they're small, we need to let them know that they have great potential in them and they can achieve the best in anything they decide to do.
At the Domsat Arena, they didn't stop. They danced, they worked out, they inspired.
What we plan to do as per advocacy is to go to secondary schools and talk to the girls, talk to them on what the opportunities open to them.
Holy Child College, is a girls' school, and one of the foremost Catholic girls' schools in Nigeria, I dare say. So it's just exciting all the way. Seeing all my sisters that have turned out with our brother's school, the Gregorians here in Abuja, it's all exciting.
From laughter to sweat, from memory to mission, the Holy Child Old Girls are proving advocacy has no age limit. In Abuja, Ibrahim Hamidu, NTA News.
I am who I am today because I was invested on. So let us invest in the girl child. We can do that. And that's Panorama. I'm Ruth Aguwele.